Israel says that its fighter jets have just begun striking down some of these drones outside of Israeli airspace after it says that Iran launched as many as 100 drones in retaliation. We're also at the same time learning more about the complexity of this mission carried out by the IDF and Mossad that was, again, carried out over not just months, but years. This is all through Operation Rising Lion. This is a look at some of these sites that were attempted to be hit. Israel says it used 200 aircraft, mainly fighter jets, to strike roughly 100 targets and hit the heart of Iran's nuclear program. Today, Israel says that it destroyed dozens of radar installations and surface-to-air missile launchers.
We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Early this morning, multiple explosions were heard at Iran's Natanz nuclear power facility. Israel this morning says that that center has been destroyed. Iranian state media today say that 3 military commanders in the Iranian regime were killed, as well as 6 nuclear scientists who were also killed. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying, quote, "We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region." And President Donald Trump speaking to our Brett Baer saying, quote, "Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we are hoping to get back to the negotiation table. We will see. There are several people in leadership that will not be coming back." So here in Israel, it was about 3 a.m. this morning when the sirens began blaring. You can listen to them there on your screen as people across the country woke up and were urged to get to shelter as quickly as possible. The Defense Ministry declared a special state of emergency after this elaborate and unprecedented strike in anticipation for an Iranian attack. Now, this morning, Jordan has shot down several of the drones that are above its airspace, as again, the Israeli fighter jets are currently striking down those drones outside of Israeli airspace. So far, none of those drones have managed to breach Israeli airspace, and people here on the ground have been told they do not need to stay as close to their shelter as they had been warned to do so in the hours leading up before all of this. But for giving you a look at really what life is like here today, much of Israel has come to a standstill, and that schools are closed, most businesses are closed, as the government is also warning that this is not over yet, that these attacks could continue to try to crack down and deter Iran from being able to bolster its nuclear capabilities.
Okay, you two, I want to see a clean fight, no hitting below the belt, and no funny business.
All right, boys, let's cook. It's the end of the world as we know it. Today is Friday, June 13th, 2025. It is Free for All Friday, and it is going to be a freaking wild show. Get ready. Trump responds to Israeli strikes on Iran. Boy, we got some news for you. There's some remarkable things happening in the world today. Democrat senator throws hissy fit, gets himself arrested. Thank God it's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Anna Paulina Luna will join the show. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, Steve Hilton, and Nick Sotor from the parade route with some tanks on the show today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We're going to cook today because we have so much to get to and to talk about, and the world is changing and changing quickly. For the better, I don't know. I'll let you decide. And this is a very interesting take, but we have a principled stance on this program. America first. America first. Not our war, not our land, not our sand. I'm going to put it on a shirt. Not our war, not our land, not our sand. I don't want American soldiers being shoved deep into the ground, plotting for some other nation. I don't care if that's Ukraine or Israel. I don't care if it's Taiwan. Doesn't matter to me. Not our war. We could be reminded of the wise words of the greatest American general and the greatest American president, arguably, George Washington, who straight up said, like, the number one thing we must not do is get foreign entanglements. American soldiers killed, our treasury drained. These were his last wise words. Actually, some of his last words before he died. He declared that America must be a sovereign nation and must be rid of the demonic activity of the rest of the world. And so that is the principled stance on this program. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to the news of World War III kicking off. It's actually quite interesting in the light of the dawn, what happened yesterday in Iran. And it's very interesting the way that Trump is playing it much like a fiddle. It's very interesting, and cracking some jokes. Wild. American first, ladies and gentlemen. American financing is what you should be using if you wish to get out of credit card debt. They are longtime sponsors of the show, and that's because we want the people on the show to be able to embrace the golden era, an era that, of course, gets destroyed by war. We don't want that. Inflation is cooling. Prices of gas and groceries, you may have noticed, is collapsing. Gas is actually the national gas average is as low as it was in 2021. We are finally getting back. The stock market and crypto markets are roaring. It is time to embrace the golden era. Let's not screw it up with more war, and let's not screw it up with massive, out-of-control, spiraling credit card debt. 25% or more for these interest rates should be totally criminal and illegal. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you trapped by credit card debt. Call my friends at American Financing today. They're saving customers an average of $800 per month. Get out of debt now. Embrace the golden era. No upfront fees or pressure. It costs you nothing. You can get started today. Call American Financing at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, americanfinancing.net/Benny. Okay. We were live yesterday on the program, and President Trump was giving a press conference. And President Trump, at this press conference, made a very strong statement about Iran and a very strong statement about what needed to happen in Iran, that he did not want war. He does not want military strikes. He does not want there to be open warfare. Open warfare in the Middle East has a tendency over the last 100 years to over the last 30 years, to drag Americans in and to rob us of our greatest treasures. Okay? The sovereignty of our nation, our men and women in uniform. And I'm sick of it. We all watched over 10,000 American soldiers die in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And for what exactly? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. We've handed those lands back to the terrorists. For what exactly? For the dream of like bringing democracy? How'd that work out exactly? The 4th century terrorist goat army is now in control of Afghanistan. We've handed Bagram back to the terrorists and to the Chinese, effectively. And we're pulling all of our people from our embassies. The embassy is in Baghdad because it's so unsafe, because the country's so unstable. No, these wars of adventurism have been total and complete failures. They've destroyed the future of so many young Americans. They've crippled our nation and saddled us with uncontrollable debt. We don't want them. Enough. America First means actually deploying the Marines to Los Angeles. Do you understand? Like, do you understand that I want Marines in Los Angeles? I need Marines in Los Angeles. That's what the Marines are for, to protect America from foreign invaders, to protect our land, not to protect somebody else's land, to protect our border, not the border of Ukraine, not the border of Israel, not the border of Gaza, whatever. This is like a principled stance. It's very easy to be just like principally standing on these things. And so again, I just want to ring the bell. I just want to ring the bell and say, that's what we believe. And I speak on behalf of, I think, an enormous number of Americans. 70% of Americans say they do not want America to be involved in any more foreign wars. 70%. There's a huge portion of Americans that believe that Israel is too aggressive in the region. I think that's around 60%. And there is a massive preponderance of Americans, something like 90%, that says they do not want boots on the ground, American boots on the ground in foreign wars. Okay, so not involved at all, no boots on the ground, and we are backing off the aggressors, all right? So that's what President Trump was saying yesterday at the White House. This was hours before Israel bombed Iran. Here we go.
Mr. President, how imminent is an Israeli strike on Iran?
Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary. I stopped a war between India and Pakistan. And I stopped it with trade. Nobody, I don't think I've ever seen a story written about it, but it was pretty cool. They were getting ready. Pakistan was their turn to hit, and eventually they're going to go nuclear. And I stopped it. I called each. I respect each leader greatly. I know them. And I spoke to them, and
President Trump going on saying, I stopped a war with Israel and Pakistan. That's in the general region of the world. I did it through trade. I want Israel to pick up the phone and call Iran. I want Iran to call Israel. I want them to be at peace. I am a president of peace. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for anything that we're building right now. Things are going very nicely, actually, in the golden era. We don't want to plunge our nations into war, is what President Trump said. So don't bomb Iran. But Israel bombed Iran. And here's some of the footage of it that we were able to show last night. You can see small mushroom cloud, small little puffs of smoke right over Tehran. You can see some of the bombing runs. There were 200 Israeli fighter jets over strategic targets, 6 strategic targets, military and nuclear, throughout Iran yesterday. The footage, while there are some buildings that are on fire, and there are some buildings, there are some facilities that, are up in flames, the footage is not particularly mind-blowing. What's mind-blowing is actually what happened in the morning, in the light of day, where you can see that what occurred were precision strikes throughout Iran. These precision strikes were able to eliminate single apartments. Check this out. Here you can see the apartment of an Iranian general. They were able to hit his bedroom. So, this is why I give the buffer on the show about what my stance is on war. My stance on war is that we've been lied to for most of the histories of the last 250 years in our country. We've been lied to about the justifiability of war. I don't think that we've been in many justifiable wars here as a country, quite frankly. Maybe the Revolutionary War, okay, I'm gonna have to think through every conflict. But we've been taught a lie about many wars and the people's history of our wars, and it's often, very often, the wars are never fought for our own country; they're fought for someone else's country. That is a constant, and it certainly has been throughout my life, and I hate that. The lies are that we are on the side of the angels always, and everybody else is a devil. When in reality, war is often two demons fighting each other, actually. And the holy stance here is peace. And that is what I believe that President Trump wants. It's what he's been advocating for. However, with that said, this is impressive. Being able to smoke an Iranian general. Do we have a rundown? Can you give me a rundown of everybody who died yesterday? Yeah, give me a rundown. Okay, so here we go. We got Secretary General of the Supreme National Council, head of the Quds Force, Iranian Revolutionary Commander, Iran's Deputy Chief of Staff. Talk to any American soldier, and then a bunch of nuclear scientists. And then they smoked some airfields. They smoked some, batteries, defensive air batteries, and they smoked some nuclear plants. So I'm not here to advocate for war against these guys, but I will tell you, if you know anybody who is a GWAT veteran, who was maimed, or who saw their Humvee blow up, or who witnessed terrorism in Iraq or Afghanistan, and most of them did. 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, the bomb was supplied by Iran. The bomb was created in Iran and was deployed by Iran. A lot of these guys are bastards. And a lot of these guys were thrilled when they could maim or slaughter American soldiers when we were in the Mideast. It's an ugly, ugly place. It's a hideous place. It's not a place that I want our troops, quite frankly, because goblin monsters like this, can maim and harm them. And I don't ever want to see that again. So I don't, I'm certainly not saying these guys are the good guys. What I'm saying is it's freaking impressive that they were able to precision strike like this. How the hell does that happen? How are you able to smoke single room in an apartment? He didn't even strike the entire apartment. They hit one room and killed the guy. I mean, good God, that's wild. Well, here we go. You want to talk about some just zoom out. I'm not asking you to be the best friend of Iran or Israel, Okay, I'm asking you to just look at this like on like a modern warfare like playing table. This is freaking unbelievably impressive. Check this out. Israel built a secret drone operations facility inside of Iran. What? So Israel built their own military base in Iran. Then they launched drones from this base in order to precision strike needle targets in order to kill specific human beings and enable to an attack like this. This would be an air defense system. I don't know exactly which one, what type, but this is an air defense system in order to prevent fighter jets from flying over your land. They smoked it. They're all gone. Iran now has 0% capacity to control its own airspace, which is, of course, that means you're a collapsed nation. I'm not asking you to love one side or the other. What I'm telling you is that this is freaking unbelievably impressive and terrifying. You wonder why all of the inauguration was moved indoors. Like, what's to stop a foreign country from doing this to us? It's crazy. We were just just with the special forces. It's like, we're sitting there riding around with the special forces. It's like crazy impressive what they're doing. But like a very cheap drone swarm, could take out so much of like what we just saw with President Trump. Like very cheap, like inexpensive, $500 worth of drones. I mean, we were riding with the special forces. You're looking at millions of dollars pumped into our special forces soldiers and their equipment and their gear. And it's like a $50 drone could like do horrible damage. And we've seen that happen throughout the world. But we saw it happen in real time last night with precision strikes killing particular single individuals, probably bad guys, you know what I mean? Like they were maiming American soldiers and stuff like that. So, effed around, found out. But, again, that's wild. I've never seen anything like it. So Israel then puts up a video like this bragging about how they built and are operating drone attack facilities inside Iran. Whoa. I mean, whoa. Freaking crazy, dude. Freaking crazy. So that's what's happening. There were a bunch of Iranian generals that were inside of an underground bunker. 20 of Iranian senior commanders in the Revolutionary Guard meeting in a secret underground bunker, and they were all killed in a single IDF strike. So Israel's out, obviously spiking the football, and there's been a lot of leaders killed. Okay. So what does President Trump have to say about this? President Trump and Marco Rubio are making the same response. They're saying something very specific. We weren't part of it. We didn't help. We are not going to war. Now, this is, of course, to placate the J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson wing of the America First movement, a wing of which we find ourselves often ideologically locked in with, saying no new wars, please, Mr. President. You like Trump ran on no new wars. Here we go. Statement from Marco Rubio. Israel took unilateral action tonight. We're not involved in any way in the strikes in Iran. Our top priority is protecting Americans. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Israel advised us they believe that this action was necessary in self-defense. President Trump and the administration taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact. We are protecting Americans. The end. President Trump's first response to all this, I think, very important. This is, kind of what Trump's been saying for a long time. Make the deal. All of this seems to hinge on a nuclear Iran. You don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want nuclear proliferation at all for these countries. That's part of the scary part about India and Pakistan popping off is that they both have nukes. And how quickly does that spiral? It's not good. A reminder that World War I, inarguably the most catastrophic war in human history, period, is World War I. In modern human history. World War II is just an extension of World War I. There was just a slight pause, and then World War II kicked off. It's the same thing. It's the same war, okay? World War I was started with a single bullet, a single shot from some dirtbag Marxist assassin from killing Franz Ferdinand. Like, these little things, these little dumb actions can have ricochet effects on all these dumb people and can then plunge all of Western civilization into like a circular firing slaughterhouse, which is what happened. So yes, I don't want Iran to have a nuke. Neither does Trump. Here we go. I gave Iran a chance after chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. Donald Trump taking a very Nike stance here. Just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they couldn't get a nuclear deal done. I told them that it would be much worse than anything that they knew, anticipated, or were told. And the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment by far. If you're impressed by what like Israel did, okay? So if you're just looking at this as like a war map and you're like impressed with these precision strikes, like building drone factories inside of your enemy's territory, which is prima facie impressive, you like know that it's all American tech. Like know that this is all like run by America. Like this is our stuff. All of it's ours. All right? And then it's like I'm not saying that they're lying. I firmly believe that America had no part in this. You can see Trump's stance on this stuff. America probably had foreknowledge of it. Clearly, Trump knew that something was brewing and was about to pop off. He said it many times. But ladies and gentlemen, what he's saying here is make the deal. Nobody wants a nuclear Iran. Iran shouldn't want a nuclear Iran. Trump was saying, we'll make you rich. We'll trade with you. We'll take down all the barriers. We'll buy your damn oil. Give up your stupid bomb, and we'll bring you into the fold. Remember the greatest days of all time? Can you grab me just really quickly my favorite photo ever? Donald Trump going into the DMZ. Just grab me the Trump walking into the DMZ and bear hugging Kim Jong-un. This is my president. This is what you should want. This is what you should like. Do you want Trump to do this in Iran? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. Maybe. Do I want Trump to do this in Tehran? Yeah, maybe. Is North Korea? Is this more shocking than Trump doing this in Tehran? Yeah, it is. You want to know why? Because Iran is not actively at war with America. You know, there's no peace deal signed in the Korean War, so we're technically at war here. Technically, on paper, we're still at war with North Korea. We fought a war. 55,000 Americans died in a war in North Korea. Should have never happened, but whatever. This is unbelievable. So this is the dictator of a nation we're at war with welcoming Trump into his nation. You know how awesome that is? You know how incredible that is? You know how good this is for us? That's my president right there. Boom. That's my man. Okay? This is the Trump that we want. Trump was trying to do the same posture with Iran. Dude, we will make you rich. We will trade with you. We'll buy your freaking oil. We'll help you modernize. Give up your stupid nuke. Give up the nuke and let's have stability in the world and it'll be good. This is the start of Trump's. And I would love it. I'm telling you, I would love it. I love that Kim Jong-un like embraced Donald Trump and like writes him love letters to this day. Hand writes him. Kim Jong-un sits there and like hand writes him. I don't know if we have like, no, let's not play like really annoying Korean music, but he's like writing love letters to Donald Trump. Okay, I think it's awesome. Okay, whatever. You know, I think it's freaking awesome. I love that. That's what strength, peace through strength looks like. Look at him. He's like crying. He's dreaming about Trump. The violin. Can you hear the string music? So here we go. Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead. And now it's going to get worse. There's already been great death and destruction. It's time to make the slaughter. Next is already planned attacks. It's going to be more brutal. Iran must make a deal before there's nothing left. Just do it. No more death, no more destruction. Do it before it's too late. Just do it. President Trump going full Nike. President Trump going full Nike on Iran. The Ayatollah has a response here saying the Zionist regime has prepared itself for a bitter, painful fate, which it will definitely see. Okay, all right. I don't want death and destruction. Now would be a great time to make a deal. I mean, according to all military reports, Iran has absolutely no air defenses left. And there's nothing from stopping Israel from having total and complete air supremacy over their land. That is a bad position to be in. You don't have the cards, as President Trump would say. Here's President Trump this morning on Brett Baier, and in just a moment, we'll have a spectacular lieutenant colonel who'll be joining the program to talk about all of this. Let's go.
Hey, Trace. Yeah, I just spoke to President Trump. One thing, the president was aware of Israel's action before it happened. There were no surprises here. But he gave me a quote. He said, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We'll see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back. Now, the president, I know, has spoken to Prime Minister Netanyahu several times in recent days. As I mentioned before, the Trump administration reached out to a key Middle Eastern ally beforehand to acknowledge this strike was going to happen, but that the U.S. was not involved in the strike, but the goal is still to get Iran back to the negotiating table.
So is that it? Is this the pain? Is this the art of the deal? Is this the pain of negotiation with certain people that only understand pain? Killer Klein sitting here in the studio with me. Like, some people only understand pain. Sometimes a cocky fighter just has to be put down. Sometimes like a blood in the mouth, like, is the only way to, like, humble someone, right? Right? This is how you do it. So maybe this is just the art of the deal. Again, there wasn't you can't find it. I'd show it to you if there was. There aren't, like, skyscrapers collapsing down, slaughtering hundreds of millions. That didn't happen. It just didn't happen. We'd show it to you. Look at everything's in flames. Everything's like a nuclear bomb. It's not. This is not the case. It was precision strikes killing Iranian leadership. Donald Trump kind of making a joke about it, actually. Get a load of this. This is Donald Trump speaking to CNN's Dana Bash, talking to her. And then at the very end, it's kind of like the same quote, but down at the last line down here. Dana Bash says, Donald Trump says, they need to come to the table. Iran needs to come to the table right now and make a deal before it's too late. It'll be too late for them. The people that we're dealing with are dead. The hardliners, they're all dead, says Donald Trump. Dana Bash asked, how did they die? Stupid. This is why you don't talk to CNN reporters. Moron. And then Donald Trump says, well, they didn't die of the flu. They didn't die of COVID. Our president, ladies and gentlemen. How did all the Iranian generals die? They didn't die of COVID. Okay. Iran has retaliated with drone strikes, and none of them made it to Israel. Iran sent a wave of 100 suicide drones to Israel, and no drones made it. So that's the break there. All right. Let's just hope it doesn't pop off. Please don't, like, start killing Americans or, like, attacking Americans, dude. Like, don't do it. Finally, on this point, Iran has threatened America. We'll see what happens. Like, don't be dumb, right? Like negotiate. Your country will be rich. Here's Iran threatening America. I hate to see it.
Meantime, as Brett was saying, we now have a statement. This is Reuters. This is the IRGC statement. It says, quoting here, Israel will pay a heavy price for its attack on Iran, which killed Revolutionary Guard top commander Hossein Salami. The Guard said in a statement on Friday, warning of a decisive retaliation against its sworn enemies. The Israeli attack was carried out with full knowledge and support of the wicked rulers in the White House and the terrorist U.S. regime, the Guard statement said. So clearly, they are not focusing just on Israel. They are focusing on Washington, on the United States, which brings us up to the next category, is will they go after U.S. assets in the Middle East? We'll talk about that up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, in times of breaking news, make sure you're locked in with Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the cell phone company that keeps us connected. We will be at President Trump's military parade tomorrow in Washington, D.C. We'll be bringing you all of that news and a bunch of others. It's going to be awesome. I think we're going to be doing the stream live from Trump Tower on Monday. Pretty cool. We're going to have Eric and Don Trump. This is an announcement for you, brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Why? Because they'll be with us there in New York. They'll be with us this weekend as we cover the parade. They're with us everywhere. They're an incredible company. They're the only Christian conservative wireless provider. We are locked in with them because they keep us connected on the road. Very important, especially if you're streaming. Don't wait. Do it today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny to get a free month of service when you sign up. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. The only Christian conservative wireless provider sound, baby. It's an awesome service. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of somebody who's delivered awesome service to our nation, we are joined right now for the first time. It's our honor to have him. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, four-time combat vet, retired from the U.S. Army. He's also awarded a Bronze Star Medal for valor. And he's deployed a bunch of times to the Mideast. And he brings a lot of experience to this. Let's go. Lieutenant Colonel, it's an honor to have you. Welcome back. And what's your take on these attacks that popped off last night?
Well, listen, my concern is always, how does this affect the interests of the United States first and foremost? And right now, we just don't know. There's so many things that could happen. I mean, you just showed on your on those clips a second ago that there's certainly been lots of threats from Iran that they could strike our troops. And this is one of the key reasons why I have been just pounded the desk since 2019 to say that the United States needs to withdraw our troops, especially from Syria and Iraq, because they don't provide any benefit to us. They don't increase our security, but they're points of strategic vulnerability. I can just tell you, because I've been stationed on some of the, especially some of these smaller outposts that we have in Syria. And we have tactical air defense, but we don't have strategic air defense, meaning, if Iran were to launch ballistic missiles, there's almost nothing we could do. They could strike with impunity should they want to. And other than withdrawing our troops, there's no way we can protect them from there. Now, obviously, we hope that doesn't happen. Trump does as well. But that is a risk that remains on the table because what we don't know is how Iran's going to respond. They could do what happened to Hezbollah when they assassinated the Nasrallah, their leader. They allegedly had like 150,000 really big rockets, and some were very good. And they never used them. They basically went to ground afterwards. And I think that's what Israel is hoping is going to happen here. I don't know that that's going to happen here. I think that Iran has a lot more capability than Hezbollah had. And you talked about the drones that got shot down. That seems like a token response because Israel knows that those drones are going to get shot down because of the experience they had in 2024 with the 2 rounds that went both north and south and against each other then. But their ballistic missiles were successfully getting through the Iron Dome. And if they choose to do so, they can inflict a lot of damage on Israel. The key to how it's going to happen next, and we don't know the answer to this, is will the Iranian regime prioritize regime survival or revenge? Because if they do regime survival, then they'll do something like what they did in 2024 or what the Hezbollah did, and they have to have some kind of response. They can't go nothing. They wouldn't be able to stay in power because of the demands of their people. But it would be something measured and small that would not escalate. But if they go the other way and say, we're just tired of getting hit and we don't want to moderate our response, and then they go and hit something really big and painful in Israel, or God forbid, strike some of our troops, then now that you have the possibility for a big flaming war here, and it could go any number of ways, but could cause a lot of trouble and a lot of pain for all of us. And that's what I'm watching for right now. What comes next?
Lieutenant Colonel, all across my social media feed are images like this of Israeli drones flying with impunity over Iran. It seems like the strategic strikes really did a number on knocking out air defenses, and now there seems to be supreme control of the air over the nation. Can you explain from a tactical perspective, like what this means? This is a very bad position to be in, right?
Indeed it is. And I got to say that I didn't think that Israel could pull off this level of success. No matter, I've always known that they're the premier military power in the region. There's never been a question about that. But to have this level of success where it looks like literally nothing got shot down from Israeli, whether it was drones, whether it was missiles, or certainly aircraft, because I think I saw 200 was the number that were involved. None of them got hit. And there's literal impunity here, which means everything got knocked out. Now, I have from one specific source I have in the Middle East that tells me that there was, they believe that there were Israeli special forces on the ground and other people that were disabling the incoming radars before anything even came in. militarily, you would start with suppression enemy air defenses, called SEED operation, to take out air defenses first, and then you come in and fly with the bigger stuff to take out the targets you were going after. But apparently Israel, and I can't corroborate this, only this is what I've been told, and it makes sense, that they had people on the ground that sabotaged the radars even before the SEED operations, which literally blinded Iran, especially in the Tehran area. And if so, I'm just really stunned at how effective that was. And that's great tactically, but that, wars aren't won by strikes or battles. They're won by campaigns. And so we'll see, because we got to see what Iran does next, because they still do have some tools to play that even the Iron Dome won't stop. And that's what I think we're waiting to find out what's going to be when the next shoe drops.
I'm looking here at your astonishing career: Desert Storm, Afghanistan, multiple deployments, 21 years of active service, retiring as lieutenant colonel. Have you ever seen anything like it with the building of a drone operations center from within enemy territory? I'm blown away by that. I'm very much with you, General. I do not want Americans to be embroiled into this war. We have been solid on that for years. However, if you just look at it as like a war map, and you look at the reports that Israel was building drone operation facilities inside of Iran without them knowing, I mean, that's wild, right?
Yeah, I mean that, and we're seeing the advancement of the way that wars are even fought. Obviously, in the Russia-Ukraine war, that big hit that Ukraine had against Russia's strategic bombers deep inside of Russia, that's an advanced capability. Then you see what Israel is doing here, and of course, like everything that ever happens in the history of warfare through thousands of years, it's going to be matched, and it's going to be followed by somebody else, and there will be advancements. So this capability is going to expand around, and one day we could be on the receiving end of some of this. So It's great that Israel did it now, but we better make sure we're building defenses for this against for our own security.
Right, and like I'm watching. There's never been any confirmation that President Trump moved all of the inauguration festivities indoors because of this. But we've had sources say that they were really concerned about drone attacks during the inauguration. Yep. They were concerned about something like this little black splinter cell that can fly these drones. And now we just watched it happen. We just watched it happen live, like how effective it is.
Right. Yeah. And I've actually spoken to some national security folks here in Washington, and they do have a lot of concern about that. I personally am concerned about this parade that's coming up because that's, there's all kinds of opportunity for things to go sideways there. And I'm sure that they're going to have plenty of air defense and all kinds of security. But anytime you're outside and you have that many moving pieces, it's going to be hard to defend everything. I just hope that nothing happens, but that's one of the next things I'm worried about.
Yeah. I want to conclude here, because you have been a part of multiple American deployments to the Mideast, and you can speak to it from a deep well of knowledge and experience. What would you warn the president about being embroiled in further conflict in the Mideast?
That it is really easy to get into a war. It is damn hard to get out of one. And that's what I fear that Israel did not learn from our mistakes here, is that you start something, but you don't know how you're going to get out of it. Unless Iran does the unexpected and just lays down and just rolls over and doesn't do anything with the capacity they have, this thing can get a lot more ugly, and it can really hurt Israel. And if they just get into a war, if you can't fight a war with just missiles and drones, you still have to take or hold ground. And if Israel doesn't knock out the entire regime and all of their IRGC, they could be opening up a long time war here that could be very, very costly on top of all the fronts that they're currently fighting. I fear that they have bitten off more than they can chew unless they just get really lucky here. And I would advise the president of the United States, let's don't join them in starting something we don't know how they're going to finish it. And definitely there's nothing to gain for the U.S. to be involved in any of this.
Yes, exactly. Precisely. Not our war, not our land, not our sand.
Yes, sir.
Yes. We deeply, congratulations, by the way, the 250th birthday of the United States Army. And thank you very much for your service. Please follow the Lieutenant Colonel right here, Daniel Davis. Deep dive. And look at that drone right there. Man, okay. Right. Let's book another one. Lieutenant. We're moving too fast today. Let's book a whole thing on drones. I'd really like to talk about the future of drone warfare. Do we do we even need aircraft carriers anymore? You know what I mean? Like at what stage
Valid question.
At what stage do we get so advanced that like a $500 drone can take out anything, you know?
You got it.
Around the world. All right. Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel. Godspeed.
You bet. My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very interesting and fascinating time period that we are living in. War zones across the nation. One of those war zones is in Los Angeles. One man is running to try and fix this damn state, and that is Steve Hilton. He joins us live right now, the gubernatorial candidate for the great state of California. Let's go. Steve, welcome back to the program. I see that your shot is clear and not filled with burning smoke, embers, or bricks being thrown at you, so I'm glad you're safe.
I finally escaped from downtown LA. I've been there most of the week. Basically, my plan when I got there over the weekend when the riots kicked off, of course, the Democrat sanctuary riots, as they should be called. You could call them the Gavin Newsom riots or the Karen Bass riots, but it's all entirely caused by Democrats and their extreme sanctuary policies and their total fecklessness in response. So there's the politics. But the main point I wanted to say to you, Benny, is when I went there, I thought, you know, the acronym that was in my mind, WWBD. What would Benny do? We had that great time together on Skid Row where we went and saw for ourselves the total chaos of Gavin Newsom's California. And so I thought, what would Benny do here? He would plunge into the thick of it and video everything. And that's what I've been doing all week. I didn't have anything quite as dramatic, I'm afraid, as the snake guy that we encountered when we were on the streets of LA last time. But it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
So, all right, you know, were you ever in danger? And what did you see? And
so,
more importantly,
there was one moment
what did you see as it pertains to Trump's forces? You know, the National Guard, the Marines. Did you see them?
So yes, very much so. They were protecting federal property, federal personnel, federal law enforcement officers, and projecting strength. And that is the crucial thing. And the minute that you saw that there on the streets, that's when things started to turn in a positive direction. And it took days for that to happen, totally unnecessary, because, of course, well, I just want to go through the timeline, Benny, because it's really important everyone understands this. The whole thing was avoidable if you didn't have this ridiculous extremist sanctuary mentality. And the authority, they hide behind California's sanctuary law passed in 2017, SB 54. Oh, our hands are tied, can't cooperate with ICE. Not true. I went through the law. Actually, there's discretion there to cooperate with ICE when it comes to serious criminals, which is who Tom Homan and his team were going after. So that's the first point. You'd never have had any of this if you had actual cooperation. Then when you had leftist groups funded by California taxpayers, Churla is the name of the group, we've all seen that, sending out these action notifications to get people to go to where ICE was operating. They were physically interfering with ICE's work. That is a crime, and it puts those officers' lives in danger. ICE contacted local law enforcement. They asked for help and protection from the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department. I've got this from local law enforcement sources I've been speaking to. They asked for help and they were denied. I mean, that right there is so outrageous and offensive that the sheriff of Los Angeles County, the LA Police Department said, no, we're not going to help you. They're federal law enforcement officers upholding federal law. Why did they say that? Because Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom and the politicians didn't want to look as if they were helping Donald Trump and ICE. It's just so outrageous what happened. Then it all kicks off and the riots start. This is Friday. And still, President Trump actually is, I mean, I spoke to him on Friday about it, on Friday evening. He was still thinking about whether it was necessary. And we were looking at the situation saying, well, do we need federal backup here? Gave him a little bit more time. And then when you could see the total inability and unwillingness of the Democrats in California to do anything about this at all, they were just standing back. Police were given orders to stand back. This is another unbelievable detail. You had police in a parking lot waiting for 15 hours on Friday as the riots were erupting, waiting for orders to deploy that never came. And so that's the context in which President Trump said, we can't put up with this. And he's completely correct to say that once he sent in the National Guard, which is not just he had the legal right and authority to do, I would argue the duty to do, as president of the whole country, including California, to protect people and property and communities, that's when things started to turn. And that, I believe, prompted Karen Bass and the idiots in charge to say, look, we can't let this, it's out of control. We've got to do something. So day by day, the local response started to match the federal response. Finally, things came under control. But the whole thing was totally avoidable, an absolute disgrace, and just another symbol of the complete chaos and lawlessness from these idiots running California. I say running, they're not running anything. They're just political posers. I mean, what were they busy doing? Gavin Newsom, when this was all going off, putting out pathetic, pandering statements on social media, trying to appease his far-left activist base. Karen Bass, pathetically saying, oh, it was all peaceful before Trump got here. No, it wasn't. These people are a joke.
His wife was shopping in Beverly Hills. She had a $6,000 designer bag. I'm sure you saw the photos.
Yes. I mean, the whole thing, these people, I think the fecklessness was really revealed. And I had a press conference yesterday outside the federal building in LA, and to try and sort of bring it all together. And I laid out the timeline and so on. But I also made the point that this is now a pattern. This is exactly the same pattern that we saw in January with the fires, June with the riots. Same deal. You have extremist, stupid policies that cause the problem, and then you have their ridiculous incompetence that makes it worse. So just as with the fires, their extreme environmental policies built up the fuel, made regular fires far worse than they need have been. And then in response, what do? The empty fire hydrants, the sending half the fire department off duty, all the stuff that we know. Same here. It's the sanctuary policies that cause the problem. And then when it all kicks off, they have no response because they're absolutely clueless. And I think that's been so clearly revealed in these 6 months in Los Angeles. And to me, it's a really good example of why I really believe the tide is turning in California, and we're going to kick these people out next year.
Yeah, please take me down that down that logic path, please, because why would anybody ever vote for more of this?
Exactly.
However, it is self-preservation, Steve, and perhaps you could educate me here, but this is our very simplistic take from about as far away from California as you can live. We're here in Florida. So why would Gavin Newsom attack his own power base? He gains power. Democrats were able to flip California because Reagan, when he was suffering from Alzheimer's, was convinced by his liberal wife to grant amnesty to 3 million criminal aliens that were living in California. And that created the doom cycle for California, because then that process just continued. Democrats got more power. Democrats were able to get them hooked on welfare and were able to then pledge fealty to the Democrat Party with every new criminal alien that came in. And so just like it's a horrible mafia style business relationship. And what Donald Trump is doing is effectively deporting their power base. He's deporting their voters. And they don't like that. So there's zero incentive for Gavin Newsom to ever work with federal authorities to get rid of criminal aliens, even the ones that are burning LA to the ground. Do I got that right?
100% right.
Okay.
And the same with all of them, Karen Bass, all these useless people. But I think the optimistic note is that people are waking up. I mean, look, okay, here's an example. Like yesterday on the streets, after the press conference outside the federal building. By the way, one detail I just want to make sure I convey to everyone. The scale of and the extent of the disgusting, vile graffiti everywhere. I've never seen anything like it anywhere in my life. Literally every building covered in despicable graffiti. F this, F that. By the way, okay, F the cops and whatever. F Israel and all this. This is just multi-purpose leftist, whatever. Whatever your view on that, it's got nothing to do with what's going on in LA. And so one of the points, and on the police department, that's another thing that was so shocking. Yesterday, I went with Gloria Romero, former Democrat who's working with me on all this. The police department building was covered in graffiti saying F the cops. Like, how could that even be allowed to happen? Total disrespect for law and order. I mean, that's what you've got to. But the optimistic, even yesterday, walking around downtown, and it calmed down by then. There was a guy literally proudly wearing a T-shirt. The "I'm voting for the convicted felon" T-shirt. I went up to him. We did an interview. We're going to put it out today. He said, I wanted to come down here and show everyone that we're not all far left lunatics. And there are Trump supporters right here in Los Angeles. And, and actually there's many more Trump supporters across California than the Democrats believe and that the media narrative allows for. And that's, I think, what's going to happen next year. If every Trump voter who voted for Trump last year votes for me for governor, I'll win with votes to spare. It's all about the turnout. You know this very well. We've got to get people out there. The president did much better in California, even without particularly spending much money or campaigning, than any Republican for a generation. So I think the support is there. We've just got to get them to believe that it's worth turning out in a governor's race as well as in a presidential race. That's the plan. Turn out the Trump base, then we can win.
Very quickly, Steve, because I know we have a hard out, but I have to ask you, this individual who is suffering from like everybody else in California from Marxist radical fatigue, is this guy going to get a award when you're governor? Are you going to give him the California Medal of Freedom?
Exactly. We need that. And that's the first recipient. You're right there. Wasn't that a beautiful moment? This is what I mean. There's a spirit here in California that isn't quite extinguished.
Yes.
And we're going to relight that fire and save our beautiful state.
Thank God. And as governor, you would work with President Trump on deportations.
100%, of course.
Yep.
It's the law. And people voted for it right across the country, including in California. Last point, guess who really supports it? I was in East LA, heavily Latino area. Like the first week of my campaign, I asked those people, what do you think of all this? They said, send them all back.
Yes.
Because they are legal immigrants, are the most infuriated by what's going on.
And we play that clip again and again and again on the program that Hispanics love Trump's policies. They love them more than any other class of people. Loves Trump's deportation policies. So well done, Steve. You're on the right side of history here. Godspeed in your election. Everybody follow Steve Hilton. 350,000 patriotic Americans already do. And make sure that this man is the next governor of California.
Thanks, man. See you soon.
Godspeed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a business in California, especially in downtown LA, I would consider you close up shop. But if you're like us and you have a store and you just need to get up and started, I'd recommend Shopify. Shopify, ladies and gentlemen, helps our business get some very unique product lines out to you and helped us become the #1 Christmas ornament sales. I mean, I know it's June. I know. So people aren't really thinking about Christmas. I'm telling you, man, we had a Christmas ornament idea. All it was this map, this beautiful map. And we were able to move 50,000 ornaments last year without having any experience in doing this. And that's because of Shopify. Shopify helped us lock and load and get some really unique Christmas cheer. And they're going to help us out this year as well. They power the Benny store. And ladies and gentlemen, they can power your small business just like they do for millions of businesses across America. The tool is Shopify. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Shopify right now. Shopify.com/Benny. Shopify.com/Benny. You can turn your business idea into real sales. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we like our sound effects. We use them, man. Shopify. Sign up right now for $1 per month trial. Start selling today at Shopify.com. Again, it's worked for us. Go to Shopify.com/Benny. Shopify.com/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Moving right along to someone who's always always comes with the heat, ladies and gentlemen. It's the great Representative Anna Paulina Luna joining us at the turn of the tide, as they would say. Let's go. We might use the ka-ching sound effect for APL. We're not sure. It depends on what she says. We have lots of sound effects. I have a feeling we're going to use the rap horn, actually. It's probably more likely to use the rap horn. There we go. Okay, we'll see. All right. APL, what's up? Congratulations on Doge cuts being passed in Congress. That was...
Barely, but we got it done.
Yeah. That's wild. Why would Republicans vote against that?
It's interesting. I said the same thing when Republicans did not want to bring Merrick Garland in for defying subpoenas, even after Steve Bannon had gotten so badly ruled by the Democrats. So there are a couple of people that ended up changing their votes to actually do the right thing and save us money, but there were a few that chose not to, and those are also some of the few that protected Garland. So interesting how that works out.
Wow. Okay. So it's like a fifth column inside of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I just don't know. Can somebody please explain to me why? I mean, I don't want to belabor this, but because there's too much to talk about, but like, why fund NPR? And where is the moral justification for any Republican to tell their constituents, I want more NPR?
I think the bigger problem here is why would you have Republicans that got elected only because of President Trump tell their constituents that they're going to come up here and change, and then turn around and not just knife their constituents in the back, the American people, but also the president. So look, people are worried about getting reelected, but I also think for people that are no longer seeking office, that I think they might be incentivized to go work for some of these corporations and companies. And so if they vote against it, they say, oh, look, here, this might be a business opportunity. There's a big problem with that. We have a lot of people that are incentivized to go make money outside of Congress. And obviously, as a result of their connections being here, sometimes they end up leaving in the middle of Congress. That actually happened in the 118th. So it's definitely an internal problem. But what I would tell you, Benny, is that I think you're seeing the number that are going to continue to vote down these DOGE cuts. I think that we will still pass them, but it is going to be by, in some cases, 1, 2, 3 votes.
Okay, so you're telling me that the newest ASMR NPR show will be Mike Turner from Ohio in American Heartland. Mike Turner's American Heartland in NPR. He got himself a retirement job with his humiliating vote. What a disgrace. Okay, fine. But I'm glad it passed. Whatever. Glad it passed. Whatever. Yeah, you're a veteran. You clearly do not want Americans embroiled in further war. Just want to get your quick take on the news of the day here when it comes to the striking of Iran. We've covered it extensively on the show, the precision strikes, and then the take on it. President Trump really well. How did this all gamify? How did it all work?
Well, what I can tell you is Trump actually just put out another statement this morning affirming the U.S.'s position. And then also the one thing that I appreciate about not just the president, but the Secretary of State is that they have been very vocal about do not touch a hair on the head of our U.S. service members anywhere in the world. And the reason I emphasize that is because, as you're seeing, Benny, there are a lot of people that were pushing, not just for what's happening right now, but also in Ukraine, et cetera, pushing for kinetic engagement that would result in us deploying troops. What I can tell you is that President Trump has always led, and I don't think that his position has changed in leading peace through strength, but also to, obviously, we support our allies. And so what I will tell you is I firmly back the administration and their position. I think it's smart. And actually just yesterday when this all began, and actually really was day prior, I'm heading up now the Syria caucus here in Congress. And as you know, President Trump also just fully lifted sanctions on Syria. And what's been interesting is Syria historically, obviously being so close to Israel, never previously had a leadership or president that actually had supported the Israeli state until now. And so I won't get ahead of Israel or the Syrian government, but I think that you'll see that the Syrian government's going to come out in support of the Abraham Accords. And I think that that's really the position that we need to be in. We don't need any more wars. We need peace. And I think long term, I'm hoping and we are praying actively for everyone involved, because I think the worst thing that you can do is hope for chaos. Yeah, that's right. Wow. So that's incredible. So the Muslim Brotherhood guy who's in charge of Syria is going to come out in favor of the Abraham Accords. That's wild. Well, he's definitely in right now interesting state, because Syria is so new in regards to their new government, and there are still factions of ISIS that are actually trying to actively kill their president. So remember, they are still right now in a very delicate phase, and we want to ensure that the president has our full support, which is why President Trump did what he did with lifting sanctions. Obviously, we are going to be codifying that in Congress, and I hope to meet the president soon. President of Syria, that is. President of Syria soon is going to be in Congress. Yeah, maybe. This is a crazy ex-girlfriend story, because we were just trying to kill this guy for $10 million, right? Like, we had a bounty on his head, like, not too long ago. Well, and now he's going to come and hang out with you. He's hanging out with Trump. I mean, he's with Trump. He was with Trump. He's hanging out with Trump in Saudi Arabia, right? Like, we have a photo of it. There you go. Like, sorry about the $10 million bounty on your head, bro. Says Donald Trump. What's been interesting. And he's like, I changed my name. Okay, it's all good. I changed my name, so it's like not, so it works. What's been interesting is you need people that can stabilize. And I think a lot of people, one of the biggest maybe ideological differences here in the West versus over there is over there, they do indeed have still, something similar to like warring tribes. And so when you're looking at the internal struggles, and then obviously there are those that are radicalized. And then even then, so those that are radicalized, they're still fighting amongst each other. So the ability for someone to want to stabilize it, to work with the neighbors, and then also to, I believe this is accurate, but I heard that the Saudi government had fully paid off Syria's debt to the World Bank. So they genuinely have a fresh start here, but that's not going to continue if we cannot give them the tools that they need to actually have a stabilized economy. So, from a geopolitical perspective, from a peace perspective, we want to ensure that right now, in its infant stages as a new country, even though Syria is so old and has such historical significance, even back into biblical times, that we are doing what we can right now to ensure that those people that want peace and want to actually support peace on the world stage can actually be given a shot at that. And he's right now the guy.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not judging anyone, right? Like, I don't care. We started the show off with Trump and Kim Jong-un. We're technically still at war with North Korea. Like, they never signed a peace agreement. We're at war with this dude. And my favorite thing that Trump's ever done is walk into the DMZ. It's my favorite thing he's ever done.
There's a Nobel Peace Prize for that.
Yeah, that's right. So I just this is the world I want. This is America first.
What we voted for. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. Okay. The only person who could screw it up would be Senator Alex Padilla. Because in the middle of the peace negotiations, he's going to come tearing in and start screaming, "I'm a senator!" Yeah, right? Like Donald Trump signing the peace accord with Iran, and Alex Padilla will come tearing in and rip it up. Okay, what's going on? What's going on with this jackass?
Well, what's crazy too is, so I think obviously this guy did this for clickbait, but also too, like, what actual testosterone dude goes in and tries to braid Christina? She's like the most delicate, beautiful, tiny woman, and he's going in. What does he think he was gonna like yell and scream at her? So I don't know if the guy is married. I don't know if he has daughters, but I think that Christina Security handled this in a very professional fashion. I can tell you that if that was maybe some members of my family there, they would not have handled that as eloquently as our Secret Service did. And so the fact that he did that is just gross. But what's more interesting is that we were on the House floor maybe within like an hour of this happening, and John Mannion, or the member from New York, actually decided to start screaming on the House floor at Mike Lawler. And I asked Lawler, I said, "What the hell is that all about?" And he goes, "Oh, well, he started screaming about what happened with Padilla." So he was like using that to make a scene, but literally Lawler walked by and then he just started screaming for no reason. So I don't know what's going on with these people. I think that they need to talk to a psychotherapist because they're just not acting normal. And also we were voting. And so they're just starting to do weird stuff, Bunny. I don't really know what else to say other than that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's like deep? Like, do you think it's because the energy, right? Like the energy to go at Kristi Noem, like shrieking and screaming.
It's weird.
It's totally like feline, right? Very passive aggressive. Like he's probably a foot or two taller than Kristi Noem. He probably weighs 200 pounds more.
Yeah, it's really. If he thinks this is such not a good look for the Democrats, in addition to them now being openly.
What are you going to punch a lady? You going to punch a woman? What's he going to do? What was he planning on doing exactly?
He was just going to, I guess, scream at her. Maybe, I don't know. With the way that he was approaching her, though, in all seriousness, any woman that has ever been in an uncomfortable situation, and actually the footage, if there are domestic violence survivors out there, I will say that this probably does trigger them. So the way that he was approaching her was an aggressive fashion. You don't approach someone like that, especially not an elected official, especially not an appointed position. And so I will say that to Kristi Noem's credit, I heard that after this interaction took place, she actually then, to my knowledge, went and talked to him and they exchanged numbers to actually like see what his concerns were. But the fact is that she didn't have to do that. And the way that he approached it was in a very weird, aggressive fashion. He looked like he wanted to hit her.
Yeah, I'd prefer like the handcuffs stay on, frankly.
Yeah,
like you shouldn't be able
I think
to
that
do this. I don't normalize
really
this. I wouldn't like you. Like, so let's say if Mayorkas was there and like someone was charging at him and screaming at him, I don't think that'd be a good look for Republicans necessarily. No. I think it'd look unhinged. And like beta and like totally cucked, right? And like little like angry passive aggressive energy. I think it's a terrible look.
I had a big magazine reporter actually in my office, and he goes, "This is really not good." I mean, all the reporters are just like, "What the hell was he doing?" Like, even libs were saying that. So it's definitely interesting. But I mean, look, they are not able to. They have an ideological problem within their own party right now. I mean, RIP David Hogg. We saw that he was just kicked out of the DNC. They don't know what their messaging is. They are actively going after their own moderate members to replace with far more progressive members that are actually now we're finding supporting and openly advocating for billionaires that are tied to the CCP. So, look, I want to cross this over right now. Padilla's in there attacking Kristi Noem, saying that this is about illegal immigration, when in actuality, what we're finding is the riots in his own state are actually not having anything to do with illegal immigration. They're using Mexicans just the way that they use Black Americans during the Summer of Love, aka BLM. They are simply just inserting a Mexican flag. But really, these are being funded by the Communist Chinese Party. So individual by the name of Neville Singham, billionaire, lives in Shanghai, China, part of the year. He's not a registered foreign agent. He should be. He's funneling in money to these protests. And it's all tied to the CCP. The No Kings protest that I'm advising every single person, if you are Republican, if you're MAGA, if you're conservative, do not attend, because I'm seeing screenshots circulating saying that they're going to wear pro-MAGA gear, pro-conservative gear, or attempt to make it look like there are Republicans showing up at these things to stoke chaos, when in actuality it's Antifa. But that No Kings protest is actually funded by taxpayer dollars. I actually have it written down. The AFL-CIO actually was responsible. You have the chart right there. $72 million in federal grants actually went to this organization, in addition to the Chinese Progressive Association. You can actually see it on this chart right here. The Chinese Progressive Association are devout Maoists. They actually brag about it in their literature, on their website. So you're telling me that all of a sudden the Communist Chinese Party cares about human rights? That's interesting. They have Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps right now in China. Not just that, but Neville Singham is also, his wife funnels funding into something called Code Pink. Code Pink is up here constantly harassing members of Congress, specifically on the topic of Palestine versus Israel, right? That's their shtick. And what I will tell you is that group in itself is actually also funded by the Communist Chinese Party. And yet those people have nothing to say about, again, the Uyghur Muslims that the Chinese put in concentration camps, and actually have been using DNA testing to locate so they can put them in concentration camps. So this is all literally a color revolution. It's Marxist. It's not made up. We can see the money trail here. And they are coordinating this on a massive scale. Meanwhile, at the same time, Benny, no one's talking about the fact that within the last week, Kash Patel and the FBI have located over 3 attempts by communist Chinese to smuggle in different forms of agro-terrorist agents, whether it was through fungus that would literally cause massive harm, not just to our crops causing famine, but then also to parasites. And so remember, when Trump was tough on China, we then all of a sudden had the Wuhan lab leak. Now Trump is tough on China again. They're smuggling this in. They're causing riots, literally funding from the CCP. So remember, it's not left versus right now. It is literally West versus communism. And that's what we're seeing happening.
Yeah, the struggle of the last 100 years, and an eternal struggle, actually, against darkness. Okay, yeah. So,
what are we doing about it is the question. Just ask me what we're doing about it.
Okay. Yeah, because this is like alarming, right? Like, I'm like, okay, so if you are actually able to name the person, when do the shackles come out? Because we've heard Hawley banging the drums,
So
about
Hawley
this.
posted. So I want to give credit to someone specifically, 2 people. First person is the data Republican. She actually has been responsible for pulling all this data together, and she's actually who I saw this. And then also Laura Loomer was also the one that sent me the stuff on Code Pink and Singham's wife. But those 2 people, credit due where it's deserved. But what are we doing about it? So I actually talked to Comer, and we actually have a letter going out today. You'll see that come out in a story with the New York Post. But a letter going out from all the members of oversight asking Neville Singham to come in to testify. If Neville Singham does not come in to testify, Mr. Singham, if you do not produce documentation and come testify before Congress, you will be subpoenaed. And if you ignore that subpoena, you will go to jail, because we will hold you in contempt of Congress, and Merrick Garland is no longer in charge. So we are going to ask for financials, and we are also going to be asking him to testify. Now, Mr. Singham is not a registered foreign agent, and he is advocating for the government of China. That is illegal. It's known as a FARA violation. So as of right now, we will call him to testify. You'll see that date notice. and the process will play out. But he's not the only person that I've asked Comer to bring in to testify. I've also asked him to call in George Soros. Soros is an interesting twist in this because you have Neville Singham, who is a open Marxist, pro-China, and then you have Soros, who's an open globalist. Both end objectives are to take down the West and to fight what President Trump is doing, because he is literally the person standing in the way of that. And so their end objective, even though they're ideologically different in certain senses, is and target would be destruction of America. So we'll see if Comer bites on sending the subpoena to Soros, but either which way, every single time Democrats call for a subpoena and try to pull a parliamentary on Soros, I will then, or on Elon Musk, I will then try to pull the parliamentary on Soros. So they'll have to choose.
George Soros has been sowing these seeds for the better part of the last 3 decades. Why hasn't he ever been subpoenaed? Like, are Republicans just so weak?
Benny, I think that this should have been done a really long time ago. Yeah. And I'm only one member and I'm only one vote. We need more people up here with the same mindset. I think that there is probably, I'd say like a quarter of Republicans would have no issue subpoenaing him. I think, though, that there are people that are scared about reelection, and George Soros is a billionaire. I actually fought George Soros funding in both of my elections. There were groups tied to him that came after me to the tunes of millions of dollars. But, this job for me is so I can help the country. And so it is what it is. And I think that that's what they're concerned about.
Yeah, I was born in the 80s. Okay, I think we were both born in the 80s, and we grew up in a very different country.
Old.
We grew up in a very different country with different political parties, and when this son of a bitch got involved, suddenly it became like a globalist Marxist movement. Like, everything changed.
Well,
everything changed radically and horribly for the worse. It used to be like we agreed on a lot of stuff, actually,
Here's a number that you should be telling people about. $270 million went from USAID funding to various Soros-controlled NGOs. And Elon Musk actually was on Joe Rogan talking about how Soros has been able to really take these small amounts of money in retrospect and turn them into these massive machines. And what I will tell you is that George Soros specifically, if you have taxpayer funded dollars going to that, when Elon went after USAID and then kind of uncovered the dirty tricks that the USAID was doing, all of that in itself, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is. People can get focused on the low level finger pointing, Denver's Republican. Soros, initially starting out, obviously, he has an interesting story people should check into. But he is not ideologically an American. He might be by citizenship, but ideologically, he does not believe in American values. He's a globalist. He's pushing the Open Societies Foundation, wants no borders, is largely responsible for the mass immigration into Europe that has resulted in beautiful young women being raped, ideological warfare taking place. And to be clear, I would say has been responsible for a destabilization. I mean, he was responsible for dropping the British pound and crashing it. Has crashed many countries before. So, if you watch Star Wars, he's basically the Sith Lord of the left.
Yes. He's like,
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, and you just go listen to interviews. I mean, he'll tell you about how he got started. He'll tell you about like the darkness in his soul, that he doesn't believe in God, that he believes that he's God, and that and we know how that always ends, right? We know how that spiritual battle always ends.
God always wins, and God is real.
Yeah. Okay. So good. It'd be nice to see a little smiting, Congresswoman. So tell it to me plainly. Will George Soros get subpoenaed by this Congress finally?
It's up to Comer.
Okay.
And I think that people should let Comer know how supportive they are of him for that if he does it.
Okay. Our team has found a remarkable photo here that actually proves your point. It's really something, and we're just working quickly here. But wow, I mean, you could almost like do the character actors. I mean, you could.
We need to cue the Star Wars music.
Yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, did we have the Imperial March? Like the makeup's even the same.
George Soros is. It's kind of weird. You look at all these people. Carl. The guy who used to run the World Economic Forum that just stood down. Yeah. I mean, they're all they look spooky.
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, they're all spooky.
We will control the future.
You will have nothing and love it.
Yeah. Well, man.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. Okay, just really quickly here. Back to your chamber. Okay, so we've talked about the Senate, to your chamber. LaMonica McIver She was indicted in 3 different counts. She's facing 17 years in prison for punching and going full world star on a bunch of ICE agents.
I'm so glad you bring that up, by the way, because the World Star Hip Hop, I think they actually posted this, and I was like, they're going to post that on World Star. People were like, what's World Star? So generational gap here in Congress.
Yes.
What are we going to do about it? So I think
I want to frame this as George Santos, and I
was kicked out.
Right, like immediately. So what the hell's going on?
So from an ideological perspective, George Santos being kicked out before conviction was wrong for the House of Representatives to do, because we know also that the DOJ under previous administrations has been weaponized and launched false indictments, all of that. So I think that they're going to be moving very quickly with her case specifically and charging her. And as soon as she is charged, there is legislation ready for both expulsion and then committees. Now, remember, when you expel someone, you need 2/3 of the congressional chamber to agree, meaning you have to have Democrats agree for expulsion as well. So I don't know if we'll get 2/3, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't try. So I do believe when she's charged, we should bring that vote to the floor. And then no matter what, though, there will be the votes to remove her from committees. But it's absurd. I really get ticked off because this is really just race baiting. This woman has no idea due to her own ignorance on what's actually behind the whole immigration debate. And so I actually asked Tim Walz yesterday when he was testifying to me, also to Kathy Hochul and then the other Lib governor that was there. I asked him, I said, do you support Barack Obama's positions on immigration, or do you believe that Barack Obama was the best president? And they said yes. And I said, well, then you do understand that Barack Obama and Republicans now have the same perspectives and viewpoints for the most part on illegal immigration. And also that Barack Obama was noted as the deporter in chief. So when you're talking about riots now, why all of a sudden now? And it's because it's political. These people are using Mexican Americans because Mexican Americans are the largest voting minority in the country, trying to win back the Democrat vote because they lost so poorly in the 2024 election cycle with President Trump sweeping that vote. They're trying to angle back into that corner. So it's our job to inform the masses that these riots are not about illegals. It's not about Mexicans. It's not about deportation. It's actually funded by the CCP. Many of these members are taking money from some of these billionaires. They complain about billionaire oligarchs, and here they are taking money from them.
So you're telling me that we're going to have to wait for a guilty conviction for LaMonica McIver to get kicked out?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
However,
at least there's a plan. At least there's a plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think though, however, even though we have the body cam footage, for precedence, because remember, we're going to do it. I didn't agree with what happened with Santos. And I actually, because of that reason, did not vote for his expulsion because he was not found guilty in court. So I think the precedence is important. But I do think that they are going to move quickly and they will likely charge her and sentence her. Alina Habba is a pit bull. She's not playing games. Like, we love Alina. So I think that they're going to move very, very quickly with this. But what I will tell you is as soon as that conviction is there, then she will be dealt with from a parliamentary and congressional perspective. But ultimately, her voters need to not send her back because that's just embarrassing. It's gross.
It'd be like nice. It'd be nice for Republicans to learn that when we cuck out on our own side, like Democrats won't play ball. With every Democrat, not a single Democrat will vote to kick her out.
It's actually impressive how well Democrats stick together on certain topics. I will say that.
Yeah, that's right. It's the hive mind. We all saw the graphic, right? The ideology of thought.
Republicans are more ideologically diverse.
It's very smooth brained. Yeah. That's right. Okay. All right. Well, fine. Thank you, Congresswoman. We know you got to go. Everybody follow Congresswoman Anna Luna. She has nearly 1 million subs, and I really look forward to you coming back on the program with an Epstein binder full of information.
Hey, no binders here. That's not my MO. We don't do binders in this office.
Why not just end on a triggering note? Thank you very much, Congresswoman.
Have a good day.
Godspeed. Ladies and gentlemen, this Senator Alex Padilla situation deserves its own block, so let's go there, shall we? California Senator Alex Padilla cuffed and forced out after interrupting DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and LA riots presser. Oh boy. Do we have the Fox News? Is clip F or G one of the Fox News footage, the live on Fox footage of the Kristi Noem presser? Okay. All right. Well, it does remind us of this impressive and exciting moment where AOC wore fake handcuffs, okay? So again, Do you remember this? The invisible handcuffs for AOC? You remember this? Where AOC was wiling out in front of the Supreme Court and trying to get Supreme Court justices killed. And when she was arrested, she went into like, she did like a role play. She went into like a kinky role play thing. If you've ever seen like her husband, he's like a Diddy level cameraman. And so like she put her hands behind her back with fake invisible handcuffs. They didn't handcuff her. She just liked it. Okay, weirdo. Anyway, Democrats are really into this kind of stuff. And so the senator from California, he's like, the senator from California, Alex Padilla. This guy's filled Kamala Harris's seat, all right? In case you're wondering what honorary shoes he steps into, right? Do not come. Alex Padilla was chucked onto the ground by the FBI because he raged into a Kristi Noem presser that was being broadcast live on Fox News. We have the clip here now. And acted like a complete animal. There's a wait. Again, I wouldn't like it. I think it would look really bad if Joe Biden, right? Even if Kamala Harris was like giving a presser and Republican senators, let's take, for example, like a Ted Cruz or a Josh Hawley. Markwayne Mullins on our show all the time. All of them are on our show all the time. These men who are men of stature, men of the Senate, if they were like rip-roaring and screaming at Kamala, because Kamala's like a petite, she's like a small woman. She's a small little woman. If they came, dude, if Josh Hawley came flailing in at Kamala Harris during a live press conference, I would be like, that guy's insane. I'd be forced to like disavow him. I think that's a bad look, frankly. I think he would look unhinged. Markwayne Mullin, now this dude fought MMA. This dude was like a wrestler. He's like a championship wrestler. He's a really strong dude. Markwayne Mullin could straight up knock you out. He's a senator from Oklahoma. He's on a show all the time. If Jill Biden was doing a press conference, teeny little Jill Biden, and Markwayne Mullin comes flailing in and screaming, right, at Jill Biden, I'd have to disavow him. I'd have to be like, that's a bad look, bro. That looks stupid. You look stupid. And you look unhinged. And you look like you've lost your damn mind. And this is exactly what happened yesterday. Now, so we played you the footage from cell phone cameras. Here's what happened live on Fox News. Let's go with this.
Here to liberate the city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
Half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as
So Fox News obviously had a directional microphone that was right at Kristi Noem, so you could barely hear it. Here's what was actually happening there. Alex Padilla, like a rabid, psychotic animal, comes tearing in. This is the cell phone footage. Yeah, here we go. This is the senator.
I have questions for the secretary. Because the fact of the matter is,
it's like a war zone.
A dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
Look at how he's winded. Like, again, it's humiliation. It's embarrassing. These people are such clowns. Show him getting arrested, please. Someone getting thrown on the ground. Why isn't he like
on your back? If you let my hands go ahead, put behind my back.
All right, cool. Good hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
More of this, please. I can think of many senators I'd like to see this happen to, including some Republicans. Mitch McConnell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's the response here? Well, all the Dems are like out shrieking and crying and bitching and moaning. Alex Padilla is sobbing himself He's crying on camera. Both Padilla and Kristi Noem had takes on this. He should have stayed in handcuffs. They should. I mean, you can't go charging at administration officials like that. Kristi Noem's in charge. By the way, at DHS, she's in charge of like the largest federal police force. Do you know this? Like Kristi Noem's in charge of the Secret Service at DHS. She's in charge of ICE and Border Patrol. She's in charge of Homeland Security Police. And she's in charge of TSA. She's in charge of this massive police force. She has the highest level of Secret Service. And you're going to go charging at her? Beta cucks, dude. These people are such cucks. Listen, watch him cry. Watch him cry.
Senator Alex Padilla. You guys have some questions. I'm going to read a brief statement. I will not be taking questions, but allow me to read my statement. I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall. Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries.
Okay, ALX is just like the busiest man that exists in the world. That was such an obvious salt that lib. He's literally crying. He's crying. So we have so because we missed that salt that lib, we have two more clips that I'm going to request. One, Gavin Newsom sobbing. Gavin Newsom went on the New York Times and started crying yesterday, and he was literally breaking down into tears. Donald Trump broke these people. And then we have a clip from our next guest, Nick Sotor, who will be showing us sort of the cool parade route stuff, just really quickly. Nick's getting set up right now, but Nick interviewed Jamie Ratskin yesterday with all the rat skin on his head. And Jamie Ratskin had a panicked meltdown. We'll do that as a back-to-back salt that lib, and we apologize in advance for not salting that lib. That was an obvious salt that lib. What were we thinking? We're just moving too fast today. Honestly, there's just so much to cover. Anyway, Nick will be joining us very, very soon. First, here's Kristi Noem's reaction to all of that. She was on Fox explaining what happened and why this dumb bastard was arrested. Here we go.
What I would say is we were conducting a press conference to update everyone on the enforcement actions that are ongoing to bring peace to the city of Los Angeles. And this man burst into the room, started lunging towards the podium, interrupting me and elevating his voice, and was stopped, did not identify himself, and was removed from the room. So as soon as he identified himself, appropriate actions were taken. But I would say that, I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was already had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time, and that this, we're leaders, we're public servants. And if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information, and I think that's the way it should be in this country. I wish he would have acted that way in the beginning instead of creating a scene like this.
We know Kristi Noem. We've gone on trips with Kristi Noem. She is, what's the right way to say this? Dainty, right? CrossFitter, right? Clothes she works out. But to have a man who's twice her size, let's just call it what it is. Alex Padilla is, doughboy. He's like twice her size. Come flailing at her and screaming at her. What a psychotic lunatic. They should have left him in handcuffs. I'm so sick of this, let's be the better people. You know the better people have gotten us as a party? Nothing. Let's be the better people, right? Nothing. Dude, I mean, they would have taken me, lifted me up, and thrown me directly into the Hudson River if I'd come at Kristi Noem, okay? In this interview that we did. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we missed our salt that lib. Don't worry, we got you. Here is, do we have Gavin Newsom ready? All right. Here's a Salt That Lib, Gavin Newsom sobbing during an interview, making up a fake story about his daughter and about how Donald Trump's going to put him in jail. Just a delicious Salt That Lib for you. Please get your salt shakers ready. I got mine. Let's freaking go.
What did you make of the fact that he did seem to suggest that you should perhaps be arrested?
Well, maybe, I guess I'm being fair. I didn't even call that a red line. That might be a red line for some people listening.
That wasn't the red line for you?
No, because I can handle that. I just can't handle my city being torn asunder. I can't handle my country being torn asunder. I got 4 young kids. I have a 15-year-old who quite literally came home from school crying because she was told on her last day of school, God is my witness, because she was told her daddy was getting arrested.
Wow.
And I said, honey, that doesn't matter. What matters is what's happening with the military out on the streets.
He's crying.
I can handle that. I'll be fine.
Wow.
But I'm worried about you. I'm worried about this country. I'm worried about everything we've taken for granted and fought so hard for disappearing overnight.
I'm sensing some real emotion in your voice here.
I was just downtown meeting with people who literally, this is mass panic for people, good people. I was sitting there talking to some community leaders. One of the young girls gets up, says, she looks at her phone in a panic. She goes, my mom, runs out. And I find out that there was people knocking on the doors. Her mom was undocumented, been here for years and years and years. She was born in this country and she's having this experience. You had a nine-month pregnant woman arrested. People are disappearing. They don't know where they are. They can't find them in the United States of America.
I hear some real emotion in your voice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Nick, ready? Waiting on that response, boys. What are we thinking? Great Nick Sotor. All right, ladies and gentlemen. The spectacular independent journalist Nick Sotor will be joining us in just 1 second. I think he's on his phone. He's on his cellular. Is he on his phone? Is he mobile? Okay, he'll be mobile. Okay, let's talk about phones for a second. Got phones, all right? I got phones. And I got these little kids. Now, I'm not like Gavin Newsom. I don't make up stories about my kids. These are real-time stories. My phones, my kids won't have devices. They don't have iPads, all right? They don't. So these things are total novelties to them. And so they'll grab my phone and they'll start punching buttons and numbers, and they lock the phones all the time, right? It's a total novelty. Kids get bored. My kids live in books. That's all they do. They read books, okay? That's what my kids do. Books. Anyway. The point is that I lock my phone. You probably lock your phone. I guess you could leave your phone unlocked, but it's a terrible idea. If a kid grabs it or a stranger grabs it or somebody steals it from you, they can get all your devices, they can get all your photos, they can get all your credit cards, all your information. Log into all your social media accounts. That's kind of why I keep it locked. My kids would be straight up tweeting, okay? I'm not sure what they'd be tweeting. Maybe they'd be starting World War III. I'm not sure. I bet we could. The point is I don't want that, so I lock my phone. Think about your digital life online like that. Lock it up. ExpressVPN, ladies and gentlemen, can help you. It's like a passcode to your internet history, to the internet browsing that you do, to all of the information that you have online, which of course is just like a duplicate of your phone. You wouldn't leave your phone sitting around a cafe or Walmart unlocked, whether it's your kids or a thief. Lock up your phone, lock up your internet with ExpressVPN. It's the VPN that we trust on this program. Every single time that you connect to an unencrypted network, cafe, hotel, airport, anything, your online data is not secure and it can be stolen or hacked at any time. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to do it or hack someone. My kids literally try and hack me every single day, and they're all under the age of 4. Just cheap hardware, a 12-year-old could really do it. Your data and valuables can be at risk. Hackers can make thousands of dollars per person selling personal information on the dark web. Stop hackers from stealing your data today. Make sure that you are on ExpressVPN. It is super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer 1 billion years to get through ExpressVPN encryption. You can fire up the app with one click and one button, bloop, and then you're protected. Done. Boom. It works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets. You can stay secure anywhere that you go. And you can get a dedicated IP service engineered with innovative zero-knowledge design. Not even ExpressVPN could hack you. You realize the redundancy there? How important that is? You are secure, all right? Comes with Identity Defender, new suite of tools that helps you get your data back or removed from data brokers and alerts you if there's ever a data breach and insures you up against data theft for $1 million. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you should make the switch today or get started protecting your online activity. ExpressVPN.net/Benny. That's Express, EXPRESS.net/Benny. Find out how you can get 4 extra months for free. ExpressVPN.net/Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, to a man who has the most secure phone in all of DC because he's recording with it constantly and it's getting smashed out of his hand by goons that protect the left-wing politicians that don't want to be asked tough questions. The great Nick Sotor on the show. Let's go. Incredible. Hey, Nick, what's up, dude?
How's it going, Benny? We're out here at the National Mall right now. I'm standing in front of a Blackhawk. Never seen a Blackhawk in the National Mall before. This is epic. I mean, this was planned in such a short amount of time, but the setup here where I'm actually at right now is where they're going to be having the actual birthday party for the U.S. Army here. You can see the Washington Monument in the background. I mean, it's just no better setup. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing so far out here, man.
Sweet, dude. So is there a bunch of like cool military tech like all around you? Like, you got some tanks?
Yeah. I mean, look, like we got we got an Apache right there. We got a Cobra over here. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I can walk you around here in a second, but I've heard the lamestream media walking around here interviewing people on the street. They don't come up to people like me. They go up to people that are wearing like, you know, purple hair and whatever, and ask them what they think of the military parade. Oh, it's just this is just awful. What are we, North Korea? It's like, come on, people. You know, have a little bit. We're in the nation's capital. It's the 250th birthday of the greatest military ever in the world. I mean, come on, you got to celebrate a little bit, right?
Yes. So okay, so yeah, like so people are actually upset about this. Like I don't get. Those are just like aging. Those are just like aging DC like like childless boomers. I know that type of person, right? Like they've
childless
worked,
cat ladies for sure.
Right, they worked at housing and urban development, you know, for like the last 60 years, and they're like just bitter and awful. No, I think people love this. Okay, so DC is now all banners and stars and stripes for the Army's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, hell, I was looking from my apartment, looking down at the interstate this morning, and they were rolling tanks down the interstate. I got to post that video later, but my God, it was a hell of a thing to wake up to. It makes you feel really patriotic. You know, coming to this city before, Benny, when Biden was around, my first intuition was to get out as soon as possible, right?
Yes.
But now I feel like it's coming back. They're like those little inklings that Trump might actually take the city back from, the DC rule. It might actually go back to the federal government. We'll see. That would be pretty cool. But, yeah, you're showing tanks up on the screen. So that's right over here. So the whole National Mall, I mean, I don't know. Anybody that's been to the National Mall, I'm just letting you know, it's quite a hike between the Capitol and the Washington Monument there. And it's lined with military vehicles on both sides. It's I love it. It makes me feel so patriotic, man.
That's freaking cool. I don't understand like how anybody could be against that. Like it is our military. Like these things exist. Like what? Like we just don't want to see them ever. Like have we become so weak as a society that this triggers people? I don't get it. Yeah, I guess we have. You triggered Jamie Raskin yesterday. We can have the footage. We'll just play it beside. Can you talk me through this exchange? He started like losing his mind on you. Get out of my face, you fascist.
I walked up to him, Benny. I was like, I walked right past him. You know, I wasn't really in the mood, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask this guy a question because he's the guy that was calling Kilmar Obrego Garcia an illegal, his constituent and stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go up to him and I'm going to ask him. I just very nicely, do you stand by your comments that you made before? Do you still support Kilmar Obrego Garcia? ballistic, berserk, started calling me names. You're a fascist, you're QAnon, I mean, he was just, you could see the blood coming out of his eyes almost. I mean, it was crazy. And it was fantastic. This went on for over 5 minutes, Benny, or almost 5 minutes anyway, because he got caught by traffic and he didn't want me to videotape him jaywalking illegally. So he got trapped at the light. So he had to stand there and take it from me for a while. And he kept having his little minions block me and try to push me out of the way. And I don't really take too kindly to that. I still keep going. And closer to the end of the video, you'll see him go up to a Capitol police officer and nod at him to get him to do something to me. And the Capitol police officer shook his head no. But this is the same guy, Benny, that had just come out of the Capitol from going and doing his little grandstanding thing where he goes up and acts all tough and marches to Thune's office, defending Padilla from crashing a press conference of a cabinet secretary rushing the podium, and he's not even allowed to be asked questions on the street. So this guy is not just a liar, but he's also a hypocrite.
They're such cowards. They never get this. This is by the way, this is like the life of every Republican on Capitol Hill, constantly being hounded by taxpayer-funded journalists. By the way, I don't know if the American taxpayer pays you, Nick. I doubt it. But
No.
you're talking but the taxpayers fund.
I pay them.
That's right. The taxpayers fund for people from NPR, all these nonprofit groups. We pay for the harassment of Republicans on Capitol Hill. It's so nice to see. So nice to see it flipped around.
They're not used to it, Benny. They're not used to it at all. They don't know how to take it. He's sitting there. He was, making fun of me, thinking that that nobody was going to see the video. He was like, "Oh, you're such a big boy. You're such a big guy." It's like, okay, yeah, the clip's now been on your show. It's gotten over 1 million views on X on my post alone. That doesn't count anybody else's. And Jesse Waters aired it. This guy is eating his words today, and the world has seen how much of a clown he is.
1.2 million views, 50,000 likes, 17,000 reposts, and 7,000 comments. Yeah, this is safe to say this is one of the most viral clips published this week in politics. And that's saying a lot in a Trump era. So congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need more of this, dude. We need more. We need more of people having the guts to go out and actually ask these questions. And we're really happy to always support your work and that you're doing it. Okay, where are you going to be for the parade tomorrow? You're going to be there you're going to be there in the stands?
Yeah, I'll have a nice setup. I'll have a Starlink set up there, so I'll have connection the entire time, which would be nice. So, probably maybe do some lives or two. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be awesome, man. It's the setup in front of the White House, which is way down there. It's kind of blocked off right now, so I couldn't really get to it. But the stage in front of the White House, it looks like a freaking Beyonce concert that's about to happen down there. It's amazing, and it's for the military.
Super awesome. Amazing. Okay, well, we look forward to your content tomorrow, Nick. And say hello to Team Benny, who will be there. I know ALX is already in D.C., rocking and rolling. Everybody go follow Nick. He's one of the best out there. He's on the show all the time. And oh my gosh, guys, look at him. Look at chat. Nick's 1,000 away from 1 million subs. We're getting him 1 million right now. We're going to get him 1 million subs today. Today, Junior. Look at Nick. He's one of the best out there, and he deserves it. Nick, Godspeed, man. Proud to always be supporting your journalism.
Appreciate it, Benny. Take care.
See ya. Ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the Ask Benny section of the show. Let's go. We need to redo all the new cutscenes. We need to do all new cutscenes for the show. We have such different technology than we had a couple of years ago. Klein's promising me Klein's been promising me he's gonna work on that for 6 months. Okay, all right. Well, there's nothing like a little public drag. It's not like we haven't been doing anything. Yeah. Okay. All right. Juiced, what's up? Juice says, is President Trump still gonna check if all the gold is at Fort Knox? Could you ask him? That would be a good show. Yeah, that would be amazing. Whatever happened with that? So, could Fort Knox say no to Elon Musk and to Donald Trump? Trump was asking about it. Elon was saying he'd do it. So where'd the Doge embed at Fort Knox? The fear here is that there's no gold there and that all the gold has been plundered by our elites. So what's the deal? When was the last time there was like a Fort Knox audit? Was like the 90s. So what happened? What's happened since then? Not sure. Allegedly, this is the vault, but yeah. Okay. 22-ton vault door. Well, there you go. Is our dollar back by anything? What a question. John Seton saying, is it time for Republicans to leak information like the Epstein stuff in the same manner that Democrats do? I say yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like, Republicans are dumb. They don't like do the same tactics. We have offered our show and we are graciously offering our show to anybody who wants to like actually leak any of these documents. Fine, just get out with it. This is what I've said for a long time, and I'll say it again. The number one and only way to restore transparency with the American people is to give us all of the information. We can take it. We can handle it. We've seen tough and brutal images online. We've seen like war fighting and the horrors of just the modern world. Like, just be out with it and prove that it's now time for transparency of the people, for the people, by the people. Should President Trump create some good news by visiting and opening all of those new U.S. car factories? Yes, absolutely. I think he's going to. There are a bunch of new car factories. There's like a massive new billion-dollar investment every single day, multi-billion-dollar investment every single day. And it'd be cool to do quite a few golden shovels and ribbon cuttings. But President Trump's only one man. So we'll be happy to do it. If you want to give us the giant golden scissors, we'll be happy to slice and dice with you and for you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you support our show, and if you've watched now through hour 2, then I assume that you do, please support us by logging into this QR code, or going to anywhere that you download and listen to podcasts, and download our podcast. Just subscribe. Just ding the bell, right? And subscribe to our podcast. This is something that we are pushing because we just want to be strong on all platforms. And we want to make sure that we have like a very balanced way that we are delivering news, content, and information. We're in it to win it. We've got a 10-year plan on this show. It's going to be really exciting. As God is our witness, we humbly get on our knees and pray every single night to be fast and accurate, right? The prayer, Lord, make me fast and accurate. That's right. Verse of the day, Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. An absolutely perfect, bang-on verse. Don't need any explanation there. That's what this show is all for. That's what this show is all about. The real sign that you are on the side of the angels is peace, bringing forward peace. So much of the degenerate evil that has gripped our society and that we are fighting today is because good men did not make peace throughout the last 100 years, and that's something that we hope that we will learn from on this program. As we march into this glorious American weekend with you, it's going to be a fun one. We will be there at the America 250 celebration, and they're going to have a year of celebrations actually for America 250, so it's going to be a wild ride. Expect lots of engagement and fun from this program, and more importantly, march on with us to victory. You know, in the end, we win. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Okay, you two, I want to see a clean fight, no hitting below the belt, and no funny business.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media still reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, assault from lives for fun. Feed the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. Come to mind, assault from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.